In this video, I'm going to show you the two models of the eyeball that we have that you'll need to know for our next practical exam. I'm going to focus on this green one over here, or the one on the green base. That's our so-so model. And this other one I've got out here just so you can see what a kind of mismatched set of eyes would look like. And it's the only type of model that we have that shows the cornea. So we need to check that one out so you can see that one feature. So to start off, right here, labeled number 1, you can see it, that is our lacrimal gland. And the lacrimal gland is what produces our tears. They get produced here, they come and they travel diagonally across the eye, and they gather in here where they run through a series of ducts down into that nasal cavity. But just remember, over here, number 1 is the lacrimal gland. Number 4 right here, this is our levator palpebrae superioris muscle. And that fancy long name, all it means is that it's the muscle that lifts our upper eyelid. So levator means it's going to lift it. Palpebrae is the super fancy name for eyelid. And superioris, obviously, that just means the top one. So number 4 right here, running all the way back, that's that levator palpebrae superioris. So now I'm going to remove this section of the eye, and when I do that, even though this is labeled 1 and 4, now when I've removed it, our numbering starts over on this model. It's kind of weird, but I just wanted to point that out so nobody gets confused by the numbering situation. Okay, so right out here, this top part, that's again our levator palpebrae superioris. Then right here, it's also labeled number 1, but this is our superior rectus muscle. And you can see it starts right here and then it runs back right under that levator palpebrae superioris muscle. So here's our superior rectus muscle that I'm pointing to. Right out here, number 4, that is our lateral rectus muscle. This one is actually innervated by cranial nerve number 6. Yeah, it's number 6. Cranial nerve number 6, the abducens nerve. Moving in here, if I go ahead and take these guys off, and move up here, number 5. Number 5 is our superior oblique, and what you're looking at right now is the tendon that attaches that muscle to the eyeball. So if I move a little bit, you can see 5 and it runs back, runs this way and then back. Somebody put a number 7 on this muscle because they were dum-dums, but that is actually still number 5. It's still that superior oblique muscle. Something that you might want to know for extra credit for that one is that the superior oblique is innervated by the trochlear nerve, which is cranial nerve number 4. I'm going to move in here, and these ones are kind of hard to see. These numbers, rather, are kind of hard to see, but here we go. Muscle 3 right here, that's obviously our medial rectus. Then we have labeled number 6. You can see it right there. Labeled number 6, that's our inferior oblique, and you can tell it's the oblique because it's running like from this diagonal or kind of crossway direction and attaches right over here between that lateral rectus and the inferior rectus. You can barely see labeled number 2. That is our inferior rectus muscle. So the majority of our eye muscles are innervated by cranial nerve number 3, the oculomotor nerve. I mean, the name makes sense, oculo-eye motor movement. But you'll want to remember that the superior oblique, right here, that's innervated by the trochlear nerve, and our lateral rectus, that's innervated by our abducens muscle, or abducens nerve. Moving on, number 7 right here, that's our sclera. Sclera is all of the white part of your eye. Number 10, you can see it right there, number 10, this is our iris. You can see the colorful part of the iris from this anterior aspect. When you're looking at it from a posterior view, all you see is like this really dark brown, maybe black color. So again, number 10 is our iris, which makes this opening right here the opening of the pupil. I'm going to move over to this other model. I'm going to take off this structure as well. And this guy right here that I'm tapping on, that's the cornea. So the cornea is kind of projected out. It covers the iris and the pupil, and it's meant to be a protective feature for the eyeball. I wish we had it on this one, but we don't. And the last external structure that I'm going to point out on this guy back on SOMSO is number 16, and that's our optic nerve, which is cranial nerve number 2. So now we're going to take a look at the internal structures of the eye. I've already removed the sclera and all of those muscles. So now what we're looking at, this dark purple structure, that is the choroid. You can't see it right here, but it's labeled number 9 on this model. So if we're pointing to something on this purple section and it's labeled number 9, that's the choroid. I'm going to go ahead and take this guy out and open him up. Move this. Okay. Oh, he's falling apart. It's very sad for him. Okay, so looking down in here, you can see number 18. 18, they can't write it on this white area of the eye, but 18 is meant to be the ciliary body, which means that right next to it, right inside of it, that is the posterior view of the iris, making that, again, the opening of the pupil. I want to point out that this guy right here, that's the lens, and I'm going to show you the anterior segment, or I guess we call it the aqueous humor chamber, and I need to reference from the lens going forward. So imagine this lens sitting right in here, right around or surrounded by that ciliary body. So everything from the lens moving forward out to the cornea, so from the lens that I'm tapping on in there out to this cornea, all of this is our aqueous humor chamber. It's going to be filled with aqueous humor, which is super watery. When you dissect in lab on the cow eye, as you were cutting into the eye, all of this watery substance was flowing out. That's our aqueous humor. So it's found in the chamber between the cornea back to the lens, right back here. This region out here between the cornea and the iris, that's our anterior segment. And between the iris and the lens, that's considered to be the posterior segment or posterior part of that aqueous humor chamber. All right, going back over here, so we have our lens. He's not labeled any given number. But then we have in the posterior chamber of the eye, or posterior segment of the eye, we have our vitreous humor. And it is labeled, I guess it's not here, it is labeled number 12. So all of this stuff is supposed to represent that super gelatinous stuff that you met up with when you dissected the cow eye, which was the vitreous humor. It's super jelly-like, it's kind of squishy and malleable, but as you age, it starts to lose that squishy feature. It's really common actually for it to start to almost like, you can think of it like drying out, and it becomes a little bit tough and starts to condense into a smaller ball. And it's really common in people as they age for that vitreous humor to start to condense, and as it's getting smaller, it pulls the retina or detaches the retina from your eye. My sister, who's an optometrist, actually got to treat my dad when his retina is detached, which was super not fun. But you can see the retina back here, it's labeled number 11. So all of these other labeled structures, that's just vasculature. But so if I'm pointing to number 11 in here, that's the retina. You can see this white region, that's where the optic nerve is coming in. Out here, it's labeled, the optic nerve is labeled 16. When we're looking at this internal view, the retina is labeled 20. I don't know why they changed the numbers, but they do. But I'm sorry, not the retina, the optic nerve, cranial nerve number 2, is labeled 20 out here. And I I believe that's it for everything that you need to know for the eye.